Welcome to part 2 of Evernote Training for Teachers. This is a session on creation and organization in Evernote. During the session, students will be able to create notes, notebooks, and stacks. And also, students will be able to understand how the notes, notebooks, and stacks create Evernote's organization system and how they can be used to organize files. So before we go ahead into Evernote itself, we're going to review what those terms mean. So when thinking of the terms note, notebook, and stack, think of a real-life concrete file cabinet system. So a note in Evernote is a page that goes into a notebook. Just like in a concrete file cabinet, a note would be like a piece of paper that goes into a manila folder. In Evernote, a notebook holds all of the notes. So just like in a file cabinet, a notebook would be like the manila folder that holds all of the notes. A stack in Evernote is like a group of notebooks of similar content that can be found more easily because they're grouped together. So it holds multiple notebooks in one place, and it can be categorized based on the content. So let's say, for example, you might have 5 notebooks all about cooking. You could put them all in the same stack or the same group together and give that stack a name, such as recipes. And that way, the next time you go to find one of those files, all you have to do is search in the recipes stack and find it very easily. So it's a way to group together similar notebooks. In a real file cabinet, a stack would be like a drawer. All right, and these are just a small list of things that you can organize in Evernote, just to give you some real-life application for your job. Some things that you could organize in Evernote would be your lesson plans and your subplans too, which is accessible and easy. Any kind of text or reading material, your gradebook, seating charts, rubrics, subject stacks, and unit notebooks. So that's just a way that you can organize your lesson plans. So you might put all of your similar subject notebooks into stacks and create individual notebooks for units. So you may have a stack just for math, but within that stack, you could have a notebook for money, you could have a notebook for time, for adding, subtracting, etc. And you can also organize student information. Okay, now we're going to go ahead into the real Evernote, and I'm going to show you how to make a note, a notebook, and a stack. Now, before we make a note, just make note that before you make one, you have to choose what notebook you want your note to go into. So you can't just make a note that's randomly floating off by itself. It has to be put into a notebook. Just as in a real file cabinet, you wouldn't want an individual sheet of paper floating around by itself. You'd want to put it in a folder. So in order to find the notebook that you would want to put your note in, you have to go to the notebook icon on the operation panel that we reviewed in session 1. And that notebook icon is right here. You're going to click on that, and you're going to go ahead and get a list of notebooks right here in your middle section of the screen. Now you select whatever notebook you would want to put your note in. So for this example, let's say I want to put in a reading note. So I'm going to select my reading folder. Now I'm going to go back to operations panel and hover over this plus sign. This is your new note icon. So when you click this, it's going to prompt you to make a new note. And you can see a screen pops up with a prompt. This makes it so easy to use, and that's one benefit of Evernote, is that it's just very intuitive and it makes all of your information accessible. So it asks you to title your note. So this is a reading notebook, so I'm going to go ahead and title this Reading Ideas. And down here you can type in the body. So all you have to do is just click and you can add content to your note. So now that I have my title, I might put in an idea, let's say reading buddies. Maybe that's an idea I want to revisit. I can add as much information about reading in this note as I would like. When I'm done, I go ahead to the top right of the screen and click the green button that says done. And now you can see that reading ideas, the note that I just made, is created and it's listed underneath the reading notebook. So you can see that I just added the note to the notebook. So it's as easy as that. All right, now I'm going to show you how to make a notebook. So again, the notebook holds all of the notes, just as this reading folder holds the reading note that I just made. So I'm going to go ahead back to the notebook icon. I'm going to click that and I'm going to see a list of all my notebooks that I have right now. But I want to make a new notebook. So I'm going to go to the top right corner of this section of the screen. It looks like a little notebook with a plus sign. And I'm going to hover over it. It says create a notebook. And that's one really nice thing about Evernote too, is that when you hover over an icon, it'll tell you what the title of that icon is. So if you can't quite remember what the icon looks like, just hover and it will tell you if you're right or not. So I'm going to go ahead and click create a notebook. And again, it's going to prompt me to add a title for my notebook. So in this notebook, let's say I want to make a notebook about science. So I'm going to go ahead and title my notebook Science Activities. When I'm done, I'm going to hit Create Notebook. And it says you created the notebook Science Activities. Great. So in order to see that, right now I'm in the notebook. You can see that because the title of my notebook's at the top of the screen. But if I go back to the notebook icon, I'm going to be able to see the Science Activities, my new notebook, as part of my complete list of notebooks. So that's how I know it's saved properly, and that's how I can go back and access it later just by simply clicking on it. All right, now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to create a stack. Again, a stack is a group of notebooks that are of similar content. So in this example, I have a reading notebook and I have a writing notebook. Now those are both similar in content, so I'm going to create a stack out of those. And to do that, all you do is click the notebook that you would like to stack and drag it on top of the other notebook you would like to stack it with. So, let's go back here. All right, so starting again, I'm clicking the reading notebook and dragging it to the writing notebook because I would like to stack those two together. You can see when I click and drag, the reading notebook turns green and has a button that says Create Stack to the far right. That's how I know I'm on the right track. And then simply when I have it right, I release it on top of the notebook I would like to stack it with. It asks me again to create a stack by titling it. So I'm going to title these English, and then I'm going to hit Create Stack. Now that the stack is created, you can see in your master notebook list that English is the title of the stack and it appears at the top. And the notebooks that I stacked, the reading and writing, are listed beneath the stack name. The other neat thing about a stack is that it becomes a drop-down menu. So I can either minimize this stack so that it's easier to see, or I can expand it so that I can see all the notebooks that are included in the stack. Now, let's say I accidentally stacked an item and I decided that I don't want to stack it anymore. All you have to do is the reverse of what we just did. So instead of clicking and dragging two notebooks together, you would click and drag them apart. So I'm going to take this reading notebook out of the stack by clicking it and dragging it just to a random part of the screen. As long as it's not a notebook name, then you can click it and drag it there and release it, and it will remove it from the stack. Now when I look at English, it just has writing. Reading is now by itself down here. Now let's say I want to get rid of the English stack altogether. I'm going to also drag all of the contents out of the English stack. So the only thing left is the writing folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag that out as well. And you know you're on the right track because the writing folder turns green and it also says remove from stack. So I'm going to go ahead and release that. And now you can see reading and writing are off by themselves and there's no more English stack title. So that means the stack completely disappeared. So just as easily as you make a stack by clicking and dragging, you can take a stack away by clicking and dragging. All right, now I'll give you a chance to explore and create a notebook, and a stack. And in part 3, we'll look at some miscellaneous functions in Evernote that will help you to organize.